Hi, Jewish mom. So I told you that today, this Sunday, the last day of Hanukkah, I would not be making a pep talk. But Zoe, like I just couldn't hold myself back. I just had to talk with you. I had to make this pep talk. I wanted to tell you about this amazing book I've been reading, Emuna with Love and Chicken Soup by Sara Yocheved Rigler about Rebbetzin Henny Machlis. See it? Okay, good. So actually, my email learning partner and I, Sarah Debbie. Hi, Sarah Debbie. Sarah Debbie and I are reading this book, and I think together we got to about maybe around page 40. But it is really an incredible page turner. You really can't one I cannot put it down. And I'm a very slow reader. I'm already on page 330, and I've got a way to go. I think it's about 560 pages or so. So I wanted to talk with you just um, about how this book is changing me, and little by little, just how it really, really gets to you. That Henny was a person with such clarity and lived in such an unusually clear way. Um, and so it really just, as someone reading it and becoming kind of really, really getting to know her, it really gets to you. So I just want to talk about like a few different ways in which I've been seeing this book change me, and important things that it's been teaching me. So I think the main thing for me, one of the main things has been that we know Henny Machlis. She was like a really famous person pretty much throughout the Jewish world. When she died, several thousand women got together at a huge class lecture to honor her. Several thousand women in Jerusalem, and also, I remember that she was featured like on the cover of, I think, all the major Jewish magazines. So she was basically a kind of a real celebrity in a way. But the amazing thing about her was that what she did, for the most part, her most lasting influence on people was, of course, through her Shabbat meals, but also just by meeting with individuals, the encouragement and the chizuk which she gave to individual people who came to her, people who called her to consult with her, people who she would just meet with one-on-one. And that was her main way. And through this way, through reaching individuals, and hundreds and then thousands of individual Jews, and in fact also non-Jews throughout her life, then that was one of her most lasting legacies, and one of her most ways of influencing and changing so many lives was just that, was going one by one person, and really taking interest and concern in that one by one person. And this for me is very important for me to read because, now, in the era of the internet, and especially as somebody who has a website, I measure things in the hundreds and maybe thousands and maybe even tens of thousands in terms of, the amount of numbers of people something I put out is reaching. And it doesn't, and so basically I kind of think of, just one person. Why waste my time? I'm sorry, this sounds very harsh, but why waste my time on one person when I can, reach 100 women through a pep talk or 200 women through a pep talk by putting on the internet? Why go? Sometimes I'm invited to go and speak with a group of women. I think, well, why go to speak with a group of 10 women or maybe 20 women, and then I should have to leave my house and find a babysitter, etc., when I can just sit in my house and make a pep talk which will be watched by many, many more women, and so something that I'm learning from Henny, and I think it's not only people who have who have a website like me. It's also people who, now in the era of, Facebook, you can put something up and it goes out to your 800 friends or your 600 friends, and things are so massive now that we forget about the importance of a single individual, that it all comes down to that, down to like one quality connection with one person. And that was what Henny did. Henny changed lives. Like people became Shabbat observant, kashrut observant. People ended up, marrying Jews because of their connection one-on-one with Henny. People would, Henny had this amazing thing that she lived after 9/11. She decided that she had to do more to bring Jews to Judaism. So she lived next to a secular Israeli school, and for some reason they changed the traffic, the pedestrian patterns when there's some construction. So all the kids, the hundreds of kids leaving the secular school, had to walk by Henny's house to get to the light rail and the buses. So hundreds of kids were walking by her front door, and so she would sit out there, and her kids would sit out there, and she would present them with one by one with a Shabbat candle. Would you like to light Shabbat candles? Would you like to light Shabbat candles this week? One by one by one. And she just threw this way one by one, and just talking on the phone with people all over the world, and through communicating with people that she met at her Shabbat meals and people who heard about her. She just changed lives one by one by one. And I think that now, like for me, the other day, so I was in the park, and there was kind of an overwhelmed mother of one child there. And I was in the park, and she was in the park. It was kind of a really cold, dreary day, so we were the only ones there. And she was telling me like how overwhelmed she feels. And she has no idea that I have a website, and this is like whatever, inspiring Jewish mothers is what I do. I think usually what I would do, and this sounds very harsh, I'm sorry to say this, but usually I think I would be like, she would be telling me about her problems, and I'd be like, okay, sorry to hear that. Like I wouldn't like, sorry, this is so harsh, but I wouldn't like waste my time on one person. Like why spend my time and my energy on one person when I could be reaching hundreds of mothers on JewishMom.com? I'd rather just sit and read my magazine, But actually, I thought to myself, and this is a recurring theme in in the book Emuna with Love and Chicken Soup, the people ask themselves like, what would Henny do? And so I asked myself, what would Henny do right now? It was so clear to me that Henny, that moment, would really give a personalized pep talk to that mother, and that was exactly what I did. I just really gave a personalized pep talk to that one overwhelmed mother of one child, and I hope I helped her out. This morning, so we many years ago, we got to know a guy in Israel, an American man, who struggles in many ways. A very, very lonely man who I think now is in his late 50s. Very, very lonely with no family and no job, and a really like kind of a tragic figure. So this person, every Hanukkah, he doesn't have anyone to say Amen to his blessing when he lights Hanukkah candles. So every Hanukkah, he calls us from New York, one or two times, to have us say Amen to his blessing. And I have to say, like, usually, this morning I was quite busy with the kids, and I have, like, still all of my kids are home for Hanukkah, and then I get the call from so-and-so, and what he does is he calls, I guess this morning he must have called at 2 in the morning. He lights Hanukkah at 2 in the menorah at 2 in the morning, and then I answer at 9 in the morning, and this is every year, and I'm like, okay, like, when can I get off the phone, when, da-da-da, and I always think it's very touching, but, like, I'm always busy and with other things. But I really thought, like, what would Henny do? And what Henny, and there's a part in the book where Henny, where she would say, like, people would call from all over the world, and she would put them on speakerphone, and she would say, everybody, Michael needs some encouragement, and she'd say, what do we say to Michael? And she put up her phone and would say, we love you, Michael, keep on going, we love you. And then, someone calls, say they get married, and she'd say, oh, so-and-so got married. Mazel tov on the speakerphone. So I say to put so-and-so on the speakerphone. I say, okay, so-and-so, say your blessing. And now I got 5 kids here. We're all going to say amen to your bracha. And so we put up, and then we all said, amen. So just, so Henny has taught me more just to value one person, because that's what it's all about. Like it's, it's nice if you can reach hundreds of people and thousands of people and more than thousands of people, but it all comes down to to one quality connection with one other person. um, so so another thing I'm learning from Henny is so I grew up in a home where academics were really, really a very, very top value. You go to school every day and you do well in school, and that is maybe not the top priority, but pretty darn close to the top priority in life. And I've been raising my kids pretty much that way. Always that, you go to school every day, you get good grades, and if you don't get good grades, that's a problem, and we're going to work on it until you get good grades. And I think, like, reading about Henny, like Henny's family, so her kids meant they were often late to school. They were often missed school, and that you don't get the sense that you got so many that they were such stellar students, the Machlis kids, and Henny talks about like that her main value was to raise good Jews with good midot, good Jews with good character traits. And so, sometimes a kid would stay home with them, and she would take them to like daven nitz, like to daven at sunrise at the kotel at the Western Wall. Or she would go and do hours for the last, I think, 8 years of her life. She would go and do hitbodedut, go and do kind of like personal reflection and prayer at the graves of holy people. And she would bring her kids along with her. They would go with her for hours to the, and so I can see. I mean, it's complicated. I don't think I'm going to be raising, and I don't aspire to raise children who are often late and miss a lot of school and don't have good grades. But I think that this is a good balance for me, from the way that I grew up and the way that I naturally am. The kind of, if I have a kid who's struggling in school, to also see the good Jew and the good midot, the good Jew and the good character traits in that child, you know? So another thing is, so I know, I think that, so there's some things that Henny does that I do also, but I don't really feel a sense of mission about it so much, or at least not as much as she did. So for her Shabbat meals, she had these gigantic Shabbat meals, and she would always think to herself, okay, I'm spreading Shabbat to the world. I love Shabbos. Shabbos is so incredible, and it's such an incredible thing to just, and she would say, I want to spread it to the world. And that's why she had all these thousands and thousands of Shabbat guests over the course of the year. And so the truth is also, like, we also have a lot of Shabbat guests, not that many, but like several, like, let's say maybe every other Shabbat, we have a lot of guests. Like, we have between 25 and 30 guests. This past Friday night, we had a big birthday group with maybe 25 people. This next week, we're having a big group of my husband's students with about 35 students. Baruch Hashem, we have a big living room. And usually I'm like, okay. And people say, how do you do it? And I'm like, it's okay. Like, we're used to it. Like, we just do it. But I never thought of it like, well, like, I'm doing something important. I am spreading Shabbat to the world. And since I've been reading Henny's book, it has affected me, like, thinking, wow, like, I am spreading Shabbat to the world. And when I had the birth rate kids this week and also the week before, I thought to myself, I am bringing Shabbat to the world. These are kids who, like, the vast majority of them have never seen Shabbat before. And we are doing that, like, taking something that I do that I feel is kind of humdrum and making it into like a mission. Like, that's something like that Henny would have done. Another thing about having a large family. So Henny, had 14 kids, and I have 8 children. And so 8 children is also a lot of children. And I'm kind of like, okay, I have 8 children. And people are like, how do you have 8 children? I'm like, I have 8 children. Like, it's okay. Like, I manage, whatever. But the reason why Henny decided to have 8 children was because before she was married, she went to Mount Herzl, and she saw the graves of, thousands of Israeli soldiers. And she thought, wow, like, look at all these kids who were killed, al Kiddush Hashem, fighting for the land of Israel, fighting for the state of Israel. And she thought, wow, I want to bring more neshamot, more souls into the world, in memory of these, so many soldiers were lost. I want to bring more Jews into the world. And also she knew that when, that Mashiach would only come when all the souls are brought down from a place called Guf in the upper worlds. And so that was like her mission. Not only did she have 14 children, it was very hard for her. I think she had 9 C-sections, and she had very, very difficult births, and she did it because she thought was her mission. I think that's really something. It's really a message for us with the things that we're already doing, not just to just do them, but to appreciate, to feel like the shlichut in what we're doing, like that this is important. And that's it, like to do what you're already doing, but to feel on fire with it, to see with such clarity the importance of what you're doing. So just like on a smaller level, like so many things, like I asked myself on a very small level, like what would Henny do? This morning, a 10-year-old neighbor asked if she could borrow my glue gun, and I was busy and I was on my way out and I didn't have to deal with it, and I was thinking maybe she'll break it. I don't know how reliable she is. But I thought, what would Henny do? It's like, sure, come on over, borrow my glue gun. Then also this morning, I went somewhere and someone wanted to borrow my pen, but that would hold me up. Like what, I'm gonna have to give her my pen, but then I'm gonna have to be 1 or 2 minutes later than I wanted because I'm waiting for her. I thought, what would Henny do? Well, of course, she would give her pen, and I just did it, and I waited, and it was okay. Living like Henny does. So in conclusion, so many ways that Henny has affected me. So reading her this amazing book by Sara Yocheved Rigler, Emuna with Love and Chicken Soup. Okay, is one, like the importance of one person in the era of the internet. It's easy to forget about the importance of one person, of reaching one individual human being and connecting with them and helping them. And that was Henny's message. That was her life. That was how she made such a huge impact in the world, was through one person by one person by one person. And also with kids, like with all the academic pressure that I and many of us put on our kids, remember, that's great. It's fantastic that kids are good students, and that is important in its own way. Remember, really good Jews with good midot, like good Jews with good character traits, like that's really that's also a huge value in our children. And also in the things that we're already doing, like you're hosting a Shabbat guest. Remember, you're spreading Shabbat in the world. You're doing a big mitzvah, not just I'm saying another two spots at the table. Remembering that what you're doing, you're raising your children, raising a Jewish family. The way that Henny did it was that she really she just had such clarity about the importance of what she was doing, that she was on fire with what she was doing. And so just asking yourself, what would Henny do? Being more generous, pushing ourselves a bit out of our comfort zone, not even a bit, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and doing something for another person. So I want to bless all of you Jewish moms with an amazing week. Kol tov.